Hello and welcome to episode and to this short session talking about how we have a framework for helping you planning to grow your organization in the coming years. All organizations, both in the public and the private sector, have objectives and ambitions for their organization. More often than not, these are for growth in both turnover, profit, realizing their objectives and so on. This session is talking about the best mechanism we found to think about short, medium and long-term planning. So what we're going to do now is run through a series of slides describing the approach and ultimately what framework we think is best to facilitate this. Now this isn't complicated. Key to success is understanding what good looks like, what great looks like. So whenever we sit down with a client, the key starting point is, what is it you're trying to achieve? As importantly, we need to understand where you're at now, good, bad and indifferent. And of course, what we then need to think about is a roadmap to getting you to where you want to be. So the process starts with the outcome in mind and then works backward to where your current situation lies. Key to this is understanding what success and what great looks like. It's not rocket science, it's not complicated, and every organization is different. What we need to do is start thinking about what is good measures of success for you. Is it turnover, is it number of customers and so on. As I say, this is going to be entirely dependent on what the organization looks like. But we need to start thinking about those and capturing them. As importantly, we need to set ourselves goals and have some milestones along the way to understand, are we achieving what we're trying to achieve? Typical tools for doing this may well be a strength, weakness, opportunities and threat review, or thinking about the global environment and the more local environment. That PESTLE stands for political, economic, sociological, technological, legal and environmental. Be it whatever, we need some kind of mechanism to review what you want to achieve. Now in ISO language, in their standards, these are called objectives. So where are you now? Who is interested in what you do? Because we need to understand what their requirements are. That includes yourselves as the owners of the business, employees within the business. It will also include clients. It may well involve regulators if that's pertinent and so on. Let's assume for a moment you're a business seeking growth. Let's begin to understand who are the best customers. We want to reinforce what's good for them. Who are your worst? Let's begin to think about some kind of account segregation and maybe even defocusing on those clients that are not the ones you want. We typically sometimes talk about the magic wand. If you had a magic wand, what would you do? What are the roadblocks and so on? You can begin to see here the kind of things that are useful to think about. In ISO language, this is called the context of the organization. So then, of course, we need to start thinking about the gaps. Let's identify what those gaps are, which are key to the business, which aren't. Decide what the priorities are. Importantly, we try and help clients put some kind of quantitative and qualitative measure to what the outcomes of these changes and filling these gaps will be. And obviously we also need to think about allocating time and money to all of this. So ultimately we're aiming to see customer service the way you, and more importantly, your customers need it. Along the way we need to, on an ongoing basis, achieve operational efficiency and deliver mechanisms to ensure those ongoing improvements are always there. Clearly we need to improve quality, and at the same time think about those same mechanisms. So health and safety is clearly an important thing, and as importantly, increasingly, social responsibility is becoming a requirement for organizations, and a very strong foundation for that is thinking about the environment. So what's ISO standards got to do with all of this? Well, it's useful to think first of all about ISO as an organization. ISO stands for International Organization for Standardization. Still don't quite understand why it isn't iOS, but there you go. It's an organization that brings together 163 separate nations, each nation putting forward a representative body. In the UK, the representative body is a company called BSI. And what they do is bring experts together, and as you can see there, with the ambition to share best practice knowledge and develop not voluntary but nevertheless firm standards, frameworks, statements of expectation around the subject matter. So as an owner or a senior manager of a business, just why should you think about adopting an ISO based approach to management systems? We're going to try and run through a few of the key points right now. The first thing, and this is very common for a lot of our clients, they want to take the business to the next step, but they're too ingrained in delivering what the business does. And what these frameworks permit you, and you should allow yourself this, is the time to stand back from the business, understand how it all works, and put some structure around that. What this does, of course, is as well as being able to structure the business in a more sensible way, gives you more control of the organization. By understanding how it all works and capturing that, you begin to see perhaps how you can make changes to that organization and make it run more smoothly. Key part of this, of course, is once you've captured all of this and identified what needs doing and how it needs doing, you can then delegate that to other members of the business, allowing you then to do more of the business development that you always aspire to. Everybody claims to help you do this, increase sales, but very much with ISO, having the certificate allows you, especially in the public sector, to bid perhaps for work that perhaps previously you wouldn't have done. It also makes the business potentially appear bigger than it actually is, and there's no problem with that. The control and view that you have will then mean that you can begin to start thinking about how you can take costs out of the business by improving systems and processes. And while we're talking about all of this, I'm sure you'll have heard from one place or another that ISO are just a pain, they're a bind to the business, that they tie you down with paperwork that's really unnecessary. That's absolutely not the case. Done right, the systems work for you, not the other way around. And if you're to work with Episode, as we said before, our starting point always is, what is it you do and how you do it? Is it working for you? And what gaps are there to make it work better? So our advice when looking for a consultant is always meet them and understand how they go about it. And if they start talking about delivering you a document pack where you just insert your names on the top, be wary. That's more than likely going to be over-engineered, because it's one size fits all approach, which simply doesn't work. You may not be a BP, so you don't need the level of intricacy that they will have in their system. So that's it. Thanks ever so much for taking the time to review this short presentation. Plenty of extra material to help you understand in more detail what's involved at the website there. Or alternatively, do get in contact. We're on 0113 801 9001. That's 0113 801 9001.